Good Wednesday, 8th day of April, 2026, and we are set and ready to go, and we are live at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific, for Trunk Nation on Faction Talk, Sirius XM Channel 103, or the Sirius XM app anytime, live or on demand. But if it is 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific, you are listening to the show live, so we always like to get you involved in it, and we will today because we've got a topic-driven show today. Number, as usual, is 844-686-5863. And I want your involvement and your opinions on our topic today, which is going to revolve around something that I inadvertently touched off when I was headed to Brazil at the end of last week. And I'll get to all that here in just a second. But as we settle in and get started with some news and just a quick overview here of the week ahead, I am still waiting to potentially have Miles Kennedy on tomorrow, waiting to hear about that. Of course, we got Free For All Friday to close out the week. And then those will be the, tomorrow and Friday will be the final shows from land for a bit, as next week we turn to broadcasting from the sea. And that would be from aboard the Monsters of Rock cruise, which leaves this Sunday, and scheduled broadcast days from the ship next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. As I mentioned, this year the cruise is predominantly over all weekdays, so we will have a lot of broadcast days from the ship. And again, we've got our engineers and everybody coordinating this year to make sure the broadcast can be done, and hopefully that will be the case. But they're going to work all that out, and it's in the hands of the professionals. So we'll hopefully have no hitches and no issues this year. And I've not lined up guests yet, but I do know that probably out of the gate on Monday, we'll have a couple of the guys from Tesla, or certainly Brian, because they want to premiere and talk about this new Tesla album. And we may even premiere the new song to end the show on Monday. I'm going to try to line all that up as soon as I get a chance to breathe and contact Brian. But you probably heard there's a new Tesla record coming, and Brian and Dave from Tesla will be on the cruise. Now, Tesla are not playing on the cruise. They generally play every other year on the cruise, so this is an off year for them. But even on off years, sometimes some of the guys just go to hang out. And Dave is doing a solo set. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to be playing during it. And Brian goes on there and sells artwork. So more in that capacity. So anyway, we'll line all that up. And as usual, when it comes to that cruise, there are so many bands on it that I just kind of pick people off during the day that I want to have on, and then just kind of tell them to come by. Everybody's got different schedules. Everybody's in a million directions. Who is playing, who isn't playing at a certain time, who gets off the ship and the stops, who doesn't. I never get off the ship, so I'm always working and on the ship. But it's really kind of that sort of thing. So it's very spontaneous. As much as I try to lay some stuff out, it's very much just kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit. And then you never know what moments are going to happen with somebody just walking by and somebody randomly dropping by and just flagging them and saying, hey, get on. Come on the air for a minute. So, I like the spontaneity. I like working that way. And, we'll figure it out as we go. Maybe some time where we just talk to some of the audience, or if the phones work, talk to you as well. So looking forward to 4 big broadcasts from the cruise, Monsters of Rock next week. And we'll tell you more about that as we close out this week. Let me see. Let's get right into some news. Now, I'll give you what we're going to talk about today and what I want your feedback on today. If you did not see this or pick up on this, last week, just before I left for Brazil, I responded to a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, because somebody had written an article about Bruce Springsteen who had just started his tour in Minneapolis, or was just played in Minneapolis, that he played Purple Rain by Prince in his set. And I just simply replied to that post and wrote, I never understand why artists with deep, extensive catalogs play covers when they go out and play live. And then I get to Brazil and I hear that Dee Snider commented and disagreed with my position. Duff McKagan commented and disagreed with my position. It even led to an article on Loudwire that I had this position. And of course, touched off the usual debate online and beyond. And I stand behind what I said, and I respect Duff and Dee's position. And there's this thing called having an opinion. And last I checked, most people are entitled to that. And in many cases, if I disagree with somebody's opinion, I'm not mad at the person. I don't have an issue personally with the person. It's just my opinion and they have theirs, and that's it. But again, we are in a world, as I talk about all the time, where, it's all about clickbait. It's all about embellishing. It's all about making something seem sensationalized and trying to stir some stuff because it creates clicks. It's all about the clickbaits. It's all about clicks and views and anything, pay no attention to the headline. I got to tell you, I was a little shocked because, I did this podcast last week for my friend Danny Coker, which you can still see. It's full video, audio, whatever, under the name Counts Culture. That's the name of his new podcast. And I got a lot of great response to it, and thank you for that. It was fun being interviewed instead of being the one doing the interviewing, and it's a cool watch if you get a chance or listen. It's on YouTube, of course. But, that's a brand new podcast, and I know they're trying to get traction and clicks for it and all of that. And there's a company behind it, and you can see this with some of these podcasts. And I talked about this before that, there are so many podcasts out there, and whether they're audio, video, both. And I told you guys I watched this documentary about how many there are and about how few of them actually have any real audience and how hard it is to monetize and how some thought there was this pot of gold in podcasting. And for a few people, there are. Certainly there are people that have made hundreds of millions of dollars doing it because they have massive audiences listening to it. And then the advertising kicks in, and then there you go. It all just comes down to numbers at the end of the day. But many of these outlets, in an attempt to get clicks, views, attention, and stand out from the insane amount of podcasts that there are, whether it's from people in their bedroom you never heard of or established people, sometimes they will sensationalize a headline to add to the post. And the other big thing now is clips. There's all these different theories with this stuff. It's like everyone's got short attention spans. Everyone wants clips, quick 2-minute, 60-second bites, right? Okay. There's that theory. But then again, the guy who is the biggest podcaster in the world is Joe Rogan. That's just stats. That's just factual. He never does an episode under 2.5 hours. They average 3 hours. So there blows an enormous hole in that theory, right? So nobody knows. Everybody's trying to figure it out. But the bottom line is most will look for headlines and things slightly out of context to create attention and get somebody, I'll listen to this. Let me click this button. Even if they never heard of the person. So it was funny when I saw one of the headlines on Danny's thing on one of the clips was, breaking Metallica. or how I broke Metallica, something like that. Now, look, I never claimed ever, and you have never heard me ever say I broke Metallica, meaning put them on the map. Never would I say that, or did I say that? But of course, when you're trying to launch something new and there's a company behind something, okay, Metallica is one of the biggest bands in the world. Okay, this guy had a story about Metallica. Okay, let's put some sort of headline out to get attention to this podcast. So what I talked about was being one of the first people to ever play Metallica on commercial radio, which is true. And that I did say, and that is a fact, and that I know that for a fact. And that story is fact. But there's more into breaking Metallica than being one of the earliest people to play them on commercial radio. Another big distinction about things people overlook that creates, out of context or misleading headlines. Because certainly there may have been back in 1983 some college radio stations that had played a song or two, but I was on commercial radio. I was never on college radio. Huge difference between commercial radio and college radio, even still to this day. So anyway, you see my point. There's all, people go for headlines and even if they have to stretch it a little bit to get you to click on something. And my position about people doing covers live comes down to the part about deep, extensive catalogs, meaning an artist like Bruce Springsteen, who I was referencing in that post last week, has like 300 songs or something in his catalog. And even though I'm not a big Bruce guy, I have friends that are. And they're like, told me all the time, like, oh my God, I went to see Bruce and he did this medley of old 50s tunes or something and then didn't play Jungleland. I would have given anything near Jungleland instead. That's my point. And it's also ironic that Dee and Duff, who I love and are both friends, chimed in on this because, Guns does a good amount of covers in their set. It's Duff's solo section in the set, and it's cool. He does a couple old punk tunes. It's great. And of course, they made a hit out of Live and Let Die, which is a McCartney and Wings song, and made a hit out of Knocking on Heaven's Door, which is a Dylan song. And I'm not talking about them playing that. They should play that. They're partially known for being their songs now. So to me, doing 4, 5, 6 covers in a 2.5-hour Guns N' Roses show actually makes sense. Here's why. Because they do not have a deep, extensive catalog. They have 2 albums that everybody goes to see them for. 2 if you count the 2 Illusions records as 1. I mean, if we're being honest, it's not a knock on the band. It's just stats. It's a fact. The band's been around 40 years. They've got like 5 total records. And they've got 2 that everybody knows that drives everything, Illusion and Appetite. So of course, if you're playing 2.5 hours, it makes sense in a case like that. I have no problem with them doing covers there. Shifting to Twisted Sister, because Dee made a comment. Twisted Sister, when they're active, has 1 record that everybody goes to see them for, Stay Hungry. And total in the catalog, they also have, 4 or 5 albums total. And when I talk about the 1 album everybody goes to see them, I'm talking about the mainstream. Of course, there's hardcore fans that go to see them play Destroyer or to play Shoot 'Em Down, of course, every band has that segment that knows every song in the catalog. I'm talking what sells the tickets, the mainstream drivers. You're in denial if you don't agree that for Guns, it's Illusions and Appetite, and for Twisted, it's Stay Hungry. Doesn't mean the other records aren't good. Just they're very limited catalogs. Not a lot of recorded output. Bruce Springsteen is completely different. He's got a ton of hits. He's got a ton of albums. He's got a ton of songs. And to me, if I was a big Bruce fan and I was going to his concerts, I personally, in my opinion, would prefer to hear his songs than him doing anyone else's songs. Now, I understand he was in Minneapolis, Prince is from Minneapolis, all that. Okay, whatever. To me, if I'm a Bruce fan, would I rather hear Rosalita or hear him do Purple Rain? Would I rather hear Jungle Land or hear him do Purple Rain? Would I rather hear Human Touch or hear him do Purple Rain? I'm not even a big Bruce fan, and in all of those instances, I could tell you I'd rather hear him do his own song. Because he does have a deep, long, extensive catalog. And this came up during last year when Gene Simmons went out on his solo tour and shockingly did covers. This from a guy that for 50 years, or at least the last 20 years, has boasted about the depth of the Kiss catalog, how many gold records they have, how many albums they have. Okay, great. We're going to see Gene go out and play Almost Human and Larger Than Life and Unholy and all that. Well, yeah, no, he went out and played the usual Kiss songs and then did a Thin Lizzy cover, a Motorhead cover, a Beatles cover. Like what? Like, give me Larger Than Life. Why am I hearing Jailbreak? Why am I hearing Ace of Spades? Give me Love 'Em, Leave 'Em. Like, what's happening here? That's what I'm talking about. Those examples. So, but for me, even if it's an artist I love, even if they have a limited catalog, even if they only have, I don't know, two, 3 records, 3, 4 records, and I love that artist, I still want to hear him play the songs from those records versus somebody else's song. You know, Van Halen, I think it was 5150 tour. They were doing, I think they did Won't Get Fooled Again. Maybe Baba O'Reilly, I don't remember. I'm like, why? You got 6 records with Roth. You got a great new album with Hagar. Why? I remember Kiss, I think it was the Asylum tour. They did a Who cover. They did Whole Lotta Love or something. I'm like, what? Why? Even at that point, early mid-'80s, they had 10 albums. I'd like to hear Mr. Speed. I'd like to hear Making Love. I'd like to hear I Stole Your Love. I'd like to hear 100,000 Years. I'd like to hear She. I'll take any of it. I'd like to hear Got to Choose over hearing a Who cover. So that's my opinion. As the kids say, IMO, in my opinion. And as usual, there are exceptions to this. There will be cases where I would agree with covers, as I mentioned in the Guns and the Twisted example. And there would be cases where I agree with, doing them. And I'm not talking about if it's a cover that you made famous because you recorded it. Obviously, Van Halen doing You Really Got Me makes sense because they had a huge hit with it, recording it on their first album. By the way, you never heard Van Halen do You're No Good from Van Halen 2, which they also recorded and was a cover. because that one wasn't a hit. But if they did do it back in the day, I would almost understand it because they recorded it. But doing a Who song never made sense to me for them. So anyway, what's your take on this? Chime in. You may agree, you may disagree, you may be somewhere in the middle, you may have examples of things here where you went to a show and had this happen or whatever. Give me your take. Again, I respect all opinions, agree or disagree. Chime in on it, 844-686-5863. When I saw the little thing that this created from my simple post, I was surprised, and I wrote in response to it. I even made a little video because it was so silly. And I said, maybe this will be a good discussion point on the radio. I said, when I'm back from Brazil and on the radio, when we have an open show, I want to hear what the audience says because I love all the opinions. I love everybody I love having this forum to be able to engage with everybody and have respectful discussions and opinions. So again, what's yours on artists doing covers live? What's the criteria? How do you feel about it when you go to a live show, one of your favorite bands, and they do some cover songs? Would you rather have them do originals and stay in the originals lane and their own material, or do you like when they do covers? 844-686-5863. We'll get you on the air here in a second. As far as news today is concerned, the Eagles are releasing a special edition of One of These Nights, a 3-CD Blu-ray edition. It's coming out on May 1st. The usual Atmos surround sound mix, Blu-ray, quadruple, 10-pound vinyl, previously unreleased live stuff, all that. Also, Triumph, who start their tour Friday in Florida. It's interesting because Triumph does a show in Orlando and then in Hollywood, Florida, this Friday and Saturday, and then they have like 10 days off before the tour really kind of starts. So I don't know if they're just hanging down in Florida or what, but anyway, we'll be able to see and hear what the Triumph 2.0 looks and sounds like by this weekend because the first show happens on Friday. Now, Triumph, there's a band that's got, 7, 8 albums, hasn't played in a couple decades, or at least 15 years. I'm expecting in their set, which I expect would be around 90 minutes, that's going to be all Triumph songs. Be pretty odd if in the middle of that set, they're like, we're going to, we'd like to play for you a Def Leppard song. What? Anyway, Triumph is releasing a best of. They have a lot of compilations. This is the newest one coming out June 12th on LP and CD. The CD version only available at Walmart, apparently. It's simply called The Best of Triumph. And I'm not going to go off on a thing on this because I know we need to get to the phones here. But this is a huge peeve of mine, which I do not understand at all. All of the versions of these songs on this Triumph Best of album are the edited versions of the song. Why put out edits? Radio edits where they clip 30 seconds of a song to make it more digestible for radio. I despise edits. And why on earth, if you're releasing a compilation, would you put an edited, bastardized version of a classic song as that version? I will never understand why that happens. I think what happens is some of these artists who have had their catalog reissued so many different times, the label sees it as a marketing thing. Oh, look, it's a different version. It's the edit version. So now you have to buy it for the 5th time. No thanks. Never need an edit. I want to hear the song the way the artist intended it. I won't even play radio edits on the radio my whole career. I always play the full-length version. The only time I play an edit is if it's edited for language and it's regular radio. Creed put out a greatest hits record about a year ago. Same deal. Half the songs were the edit versions. Now, there's one reason why I think this might be, too, beyond the, the appearance of a marketing thing that would get someone, oh, I got to have the edit of that, and rebuy it again. Beyond that angle, the only other thing I could say is that some of this might have to do with the push to get people to buy vinyl. And we all know that on vinyl, you have a limit in the amount of audio you can put on each side. So maybe by doing the edits, they can do 12 songs and keep it a single album. But that also doesn't make sense, since in the push to vinyl, they always want to sell you a double vinyl to make double the money. You've seen that where there's like 3 songs on each side. So it's silly. Just give me the full-length versions. Anyway, sorry, that's just how I feel. I will always default to the actual versions of the record. But anyway, this is out on June 12th if you are a purist and would like to get it. Also, if you're a purist and you've got $3,000 burning in your pocket you'd like to spend, there is a tribute to Ozzy watch coming out from a company called Split Watches in the UK. Yes, an Ozzy Osbourne tribute watch. May 14th is the release date. $2,960 is the price. But before you get crazy, you're like, oh my God, they're already exploiting Ozzy and they're exploiting his name and his legacy and they're doing this crazy stuff and this is not cool. Hold your horses. This is cool because it is 100% for charity. All of the money, 100% of the money made from selling these watches, which will be limited, goes to Music Cares, which is a great organization that helps take care of musicians in times of hardship. Savatage have a live album coming out from the archives. It's called Madness Reigns from the Gutter, 1990. It was recorded on the Gutter Ballet Tour back in 1990. It'll be released on June 26th, 19 total live tracks, and it features a classic Savatage lineup of Chris Caffery, Johnny Lee Middleton, Doc Wackholes on drums, John Oliva on vocals, and his brother, the late, great Chris Oliva, on guitar. Previously unreleased live show has been remastered, remixed, and again, June 26th, the release date. Savatage is touring, doing some shows, but they are all in Europe, nothing in America. They've always been a bigger band in Europe, and of course, for the last 20, 25 years, Savatage has morphed into Trans-Siberian Orchestra these days. As a matter of fact, John Oliva made some social media posts in the last week or two just saying that, he's been wanting to go out and do things, but due to health issues, he cannot, but he is still being creative and doing some stuff here and there. What else do I have for you? Rocket Mafia. We had Bret Michaels on this show yesterday. You can hear that on the app if you missed it. During that interview, Bret talked about playing the NFL draft, and he also, of course, talked about Poison and said now they're hoping for 2027 for a Poison tour, which has made news today from that interview yesterday. Again, go hear it for yourself if you'd like in its entirety on the app. Bret also touched on the fact that even though next year would be the 41st anniversary of the first Poison album, Look What the Cat Dragged In, he gave us some thoughts on it at 40 years old. As we know, Ricky Rocket, who's been on the show a number of times recently, is going out with his own band, Rocket Mafia, and they're going to be paying tribute to what is the actual 40th anniversary of that record by playing it in its entirety. First time it's ever been played start to finish. The new lineup of Ricky's band, Rocket Mafia, consists of My good buddy Stacey Blades on guitar, stepping in for Mick Sueda. Mick Sueda was originally in this band, but then the original lineup of the Bullet Boys came back together yet again. So now Ricky has called on former LA Guns guitarist Stacey Blades to step in. Also, Brandon Gibbs remains the vocalist, and on bass will be Tyson Leslie, who is best known as the keyboardist and the only male member of Vixen. Tyson looks after Vixen, does tour management, plays keys and backing vocals with them when they play live. And Tyson is a buddy. I'll see him on 2 cruises, both Monsters and Summer of 99 back-to-back, because he's on both. He does piano stuff. So Tyson, I didn't even know he played bass, but he's playing bass in this Rocket Mafia. They announced also their first live shows. It's a handful of dates. Again, this is not a tour. These are what are known as fly dates in the business, flying in, flying out on a weekend. The dates are throughout May, scattered shows May through August. Cities they're hitting include Chicago, Los Angeles at the Whiskey, also playing Dallas, playing Houston, playing Detroit. Check your local listings. I'm sure more will be added. Pink Floyd releasing a record called 8 Tracks. It is an LP. It's a compilation of 8 Pink Floyd songs, and it was edited together by Steven Wilson, who we had on this show talking about doing these Atmos remixes. He, of course, himself is a musician. But Steven edited these songs, the 8 songs they picked for this, which goes all the way back to the earliest time of Pink Floyd through the later period. And what Steven Wilson did was not mix these in surround sound, but edit them in a way that it makes all one big track. Interesting listening experience for a Pink Floyd fan. What's crazy about this, though, and doesn't make sense at all, is from what I could read, it's only going to be available on vinyl. And the same 180 gram super deluxe, all that stuff to justify charging you $80 for an album. But but here's what's crazy, right? This just, again, is absurd, but it's all about marketing. But I'm just cutting through all the nonsense for you guys. So the idea of this record, from what I've been able to tell, is that you can have one complete listening experience. And these 8 Pink Floyd songs are all cut together as one giant song for 40 minutes or whatever, right? Okay, kind of cool. Could be interesting to see how they did that. But they did it, if it's only available on vinyl, here's the problem. You got to flip it over. So your complete one thing listening experience is going to be interrupted because when you get to the end of side 1, assuming it's a single vinyl, you got to flip it. You got to stop. You got to flip it. You got to start it again. If you did it on CD, you could actually do the whole 45 minutes or whatever the running time is as one complete piece and truly have an uninterrupted listening experience. But no, because the CD would cost $10 and they got to find a way to charge you $72.99. I wouldn't be surprised if they do this on double vinyl. Complete listening experience, but you got to flip every 2 songs. And you guys don't see my point about how this is all marketing at the end of the day. It's crazy. But I do like the idea of editing everything together. I think that'd be kind of cool if it was a band I was really into. And to me, they should just take this entire Pink Floyd thing and put it on at the Sphere and put a lot of cool lights around it, and you probably sell the Sphere out. I've said the Sphere, the ultimate band that could ever play the Sphere is Pink Floyd. But even if they don't want to do it, they could probably do like a Laser Floyd in there, the new version of the Laser Floyd. Okay, so Joel is telling me it is on CD. So I stand corrected. Thank you, Joel. I searched. I could not find it being available on CD.
I went directly to the shop.pinkfloyd.com website.
Okay, so you're saying it's a single vinyl, $27, and the CD is $13. So the CD is half the price, and you don't have to flip it. You're still flipping if you buy the vinyl. So you're kind of circumventing the whole point of doing the complete listening thing because you got to flip it. Whatever. This just came in before I got on the air. The Rolling Stones have announced a new album called Foreign Tongues. Yes, they just keep going and going and going and making new albums. And who knows if they'll tour. It's crazy. The lead single will be called Mr. Charm, and it's rumored to get released as soon as this Friday. They are alleging this will be the final album that they make of new music. Who knows? But look, the last couple of Stones records were really good. And like I say all the time, I don't care how old you are, as long as you can still do it at a decent level, whether it's making new music or touring, keep at it, man. And I saw the Stones on the last tour, and they were great. So I don't care if they're in their early 80s, mid 80s, whatever. As long as they can still do it, and you still got Mick and Keith there, and Ronnie Wood, have at it. They're not embarrassing themselves. And it's all real and it's all live. So I got no problem with it. Lou Gramm is going to throw out the first pitch at the Mets game tomorrow in New York at Citi Field. This is very ballsy of Lou, because that is not an easy thing to do. And Lou's a good 10, 12 years older than me. You know, he's had a lot of health issues. Good luck to him, man. That, from the mound, I don't know if he's throwing from the mound. I probably couldn't throw anywhere close to a pitch close to home plate from the mound in a major league field. I don't know if he's going to come in, do it like from halfway out. He doesn't want to pull a Baba Booey, which will haunt anybody that ever has to do that. So we'll see how Lou does, but of course he's doing stuff to promote his new solo album. I got to line him up to come on and talk about the record. We'll see, again, with the cruises coming up, there's just too much going on, but we'll line up some of these people after I get back from the two cruises coming. So anyway, good luck to Lou throwing out the first pitch at my favorite baseball team's stadium tomorrow. And last thing, and you may have picked up with some of this online, Journey's currently out on tour. It's never-ending drama that swirls around Journey. Allegations that Arnel Pineda, their lead singer, did not want to do this tour. He did not want to do this many dates. There are like 60 dates on the tour. He has some issues on the home front, and he didn't want to be away that much. And then he saw the dates, and he tried to check out of it. And they're saying that contractually he couldn't check out of it because the promoter in this case, which is AEG, they were committed. It would cause a lawsuit if he didn't do the dates because he's contracted to. So I don't know. Neil Sean responding online, just saying that, this is the way it is, and this was the agreement and whatever. So the Journey drama machine continues, but despite it all in the last few years, they continue to play, they continue to draw huge crowds, and they find a way to make it work somehow. I did see a post from Neil, which was pretty funny. He said, you know what? I just want to play my guitar and not have drama, please. I can understand that, because whosever fault it is, there's been nothing but drama around Journey for a few years now. It's crazy. So this is their final tour, and they're trying to get through it intact. As of now, Arnel remains as the lead singer. Joel, anything you got?
Just birthdays to add today. We'll say happy birthday to Steve Howe and Izzy Stradlin. Steve is 79 and Izzy's 64 today.
So Izzy Stradlin is completely MIA. We all know that. Of course, a huge, huge part of Guns N' Roses in terms of the writing and the formation of the band. There was talk when Guns originally got back together back in 10 years ago that Izzy would be a part of it. At the time, it was alleged Izzy had made a statement or something that alleged his desire, his interest in his decision to not be a part of this, all this, the last 10 years is due over money, contract, financial, the offer, etc. That's always been the assumption. But who knows, an ultra reclusive guy that nobody ever hears from or sees or anything. But happy birthday to him. And Steve Howe, of course, guitarist from Yes and Asia, has been on this show once, believe it or not, from Cruise to the Edge a number of years ago. So happy 79th birthday to Steve Howe. All right, thank you for all that. Joel, let's go to you guys now. How about it? Our discussion point of the day, off of my little opinion about bands playing covers live, your thoughts about it. We go to you on the busy phones next, the rest of the way on this Wednesday edition of Trunk Nation.
There's what you're used to. Then there's Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk. Sirius XM Faction Talk. Sam Roberts Show.
I think there was an internet survey that said Disney adults are the internet's most hated group. A Disney adult's not even caring about the company. A Disney adult's not like going like, oh, it's really interesting, you know, ESPN, Disney, ABC, like looking at the whole company and media business in general and all this stuff. Like a Disney adult kind of still thinks Mickey is the CEO.
Sam Roberts Show, weekday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern on Channel 103. Or listen anytime with the Sirius XM app.
Hey, what the heck is wrong with this thing?
Welcome to Morgan Wallen Radio.
What's happening now?
Morgan Wallen Radio.
Morgan Wallen what?
My very own channel, Morgan Wallen Radio. It's on right now, channel 64. I guess I'm the problem.
This I gotta hear.
It's pretty cool that I get to hopefully have an impact on somebody else being in charge of this station.
Morgan Wallen Radio, channel 64, and in the Sirius XM app.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband Ryan died. He was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had the foresight to get life insurance. Because we had the 2 small children, he decided it was important to get it to make sure that we would have enough in case anything ever happened. The bills were covered, the mortgage was paid, so I could focus on my kids. With Ethos, getting life insurance is fast, affordable, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exam, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. We truly don't know how much time we have. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the time and the space we needed to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/quote. That's ethos.com/quote. Ethos.com/quote. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Ready for big fun? Start for free at Chumba Casino. Sign up and enjoy a welcome bonus with gold coins and sweeps coins to explore hundreds of online social casino games, all from your phone. Spin, play, and discover something new whenever you feel like it, with no downloads needed. More games, more ways to play. Let's Chumba. Only available in permitted states. No purchase necessary. See terms and conditions for details. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21+.
Gas prices are rising again. And when gas goes up, everything else follows. That truck that delivers your groceries, more expensive. That farm that grows your food, more expensive. Which means the real mistake isn't what's happening out there. It's waiting to do something about it. That's why smart families are getting ahead of it now. They know if you wait to prepare, you're making the decision to go without. Right now, 4Patriots is offering a simple, affordable way to be ready. When you buy one 72-hour survival food kit, you'll get 2 more absolutely free. That's 3 kits. 9 days of shelf-stable meals, ready when you need them the most. These aren't scraps or shortcuts. They're real meals, designed to last up to 25 years and proudly hand-packed in America. So when the power's out, when prices spike again, when the unexpected hits, you're not scrambling, you're steady. Because confidence doesn't come from hoping things work out. It comes from knowing you're prepared. Go now to 4patriots.com. That's the number 4patriots.com and get 2 free 72-hour food kits before this deal disappears. Because the next emergency, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Oil isn't the only resource hit hard by global events. American farmers are sounding the alarm by fertilizer prices at planting season. Will this disrupt our food supply? Raising prices? Cause shortages? I'm not waiting to find out, and neither should you. Go to mypatriotsupply.com, get a 3-month emergency food supply. They'll include $200 worth of extra survival protein absolutely free. After serving more than 3 million American families since 2008, you can trust mypatriotsupply.com. Go to mypatriotsupply.com.
Now back to real conversation about real bands, playing real instruments, and making real music.
Not a laptop in sight.
This is Trunk Nation.
Never calculated, never scripted.
With Eddie Trunk, SiriusXM's Faction Talk.
A few quick things. First of all, that little bumper there, and me talking about real bands playing real live music, not a laptop in sight or whatever. Huge shout out to Sully Erna of Godsmack, who I saw I don't know if it was a press release or a video he made on social media. I think it was a press release. I don't remember what it was, but he's talking about this tour coming up, Godsmack, Stone Temple Pilots, and Dorothy. And he's like, I'm really happy about this tour because it's 3 bands that are all play totally live, no bullshit, no nothing. He goes, you know how I feel about that shit? He goes, actually, all 3 bands I'm very proud to say on this tour play totally live. I was like, oh, God, that made me feel so good to hear Sully say that. Because, again, we need artists taking a stand on this. I can scream from the rooftops all I want. I've been doing it for 15 years now, giving people a precaution of what's coming down the pike and where we're at. But when major artists do it, it means a lot because their contemporaries take notice of them saying it and maybe put some pressure on them to knock the shit off and actually play and sing live. So Sully, nothing but love and props for A, having that criteria for the Godsmack tour, and B, being vocal about it. And Sully will be on the show soon, by the way. Also, a little tip to those that listen to this show every day. I put 3 new videos up of recent interviews in video form on the YouTube page. I did it all yesterday. I usually don't post video of interviews until a little bit after they hit as podcasts. You know, the rollout, live on this show, then about a week or 2 later, podcast, then usually a little after that, if we have video on the YouTube channel. But since I'm going to be on a cruise ship for a while, starting on Sunday, you know, the internet's not that great on cruise ships. So I wanted to put this stuff out there so I didn't have to try to do it from the time, you know, from being on the ship. So so even though some of the podcast audio hasn't hit yet, but since you guys listen to this show, it doesn't matter about the podcast. So the full Wes Scantlin is up, and I put 2 others up last night. I can't remember what they were, but just go and it's been updated with 3 brand new video interviews on, if you want to watch, on at Eddie Trunk on YouTube.
Vinny and Jeff Tate, it looks like.
Vinny, thank you, Joel. Vinny, so much going on. I literally can't keep anything straight. Vinny Appice, Jeff Tate, Wes Scantlin, and he had the drummer Robin Diaz with them, all in full video now on the at Eddie Trunk YouTube channel. And finally, just confirmed during the commercial break, tomorrow we do have a guest. It's going to be Myles Kennedy. Myles Kennedy will join us live at 3:30 Eastern Time, talking about the new Alter Bridge record and whatever else we get into. Always great to visit with Myles, one of my favorites. So, again, we've talked about this Alter Bridge record. It's phenomenal, but it came out and then Alter Bridge left the country, so they didn't really get a chance to talk too much about it. And now their tour here in America is about to start. So we'll be joined live tomorrow by Miles Kennedy again at 3:30 Eastern, a half an hour into the show tomorrow. That just confirmed during the commercial break. Okay, to the phones. The order of the day. Your thoughts on artists doing covers. When does it make sense? When does it not? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Would you rather, instead of that cover, hear them do one of their own songs? Let's hear from you. We start in Dallas. How about right in the middle of the country in Texas? Here's Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
Hey, man.
Hey, so, I kind of agree with you, on, if you have a big discography, depending on the names, like Bruce Springsteen does have a lot of hits and he has a lot of albums out. He probably shouldn't be doing a Prince song. However, I did have to remind myself that Prince did pass away like 10 years ago.
Right, but what does that have to do with it?
Well, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, Prince is gone. We're never going to hear him sing Purple Rain again. Let's throw the people of Minneapolis, a little surprise here, Just kind of, it was like a nice thing to do, but at the same time, like, if he did it, like, in L.A., it probably wouldn't have made sense. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, in the case of the Springsteen thing, I understand the connection. I don't think he's doing that every night. He did it because he's in Minneapolis, and Purple Rain is the obvious song. A lot of people have covered it. A lot of people have done it live. But the thing about him being, Prince passing away and not being with us anymore, of course it's true, but unfortunately, there's a lot of bands that do covers of people who passed away. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jared, and I think we're kind of in agreement there, and thank you for the call. The thing with Springsteen is it's not so much the Prince thing, that one night. And again, I can't speak to this in great detail because I am not a big Springsteen guy, but I do have friends that are, and they tell me that he routinely will do a portion of his set cover songs, having nothing to do with, whether the person's alive or dead or what city they're in. And look, whether I agree with it or not, I respect an artist is an artist. They can do whatever they want with their show. That's their prerogative. But the ticket-paying fan, I think most of them are going, if they're a big fan of that artist, and again, the artist has a deep catalog, they're going to hear and paid to hear that artist song, that artist catalog. Some might be different. I don't know. Here's the other thing, too. If you're a band that doesn't have a lot of hits, putting a song that everybody knows in your set, one or two, keeps the casual people interested. So, for instance, in the case of Springsteen, he does have a lot of hits. But say you're a big act. Say you're a big act and you're known for a couple songs, but a lot of people don't know the rest of your catalog outside of the hardcores. And you throw in a Purple Rain or something like that, everybody in the place is going to know the song. And you're going to re-engage the audience. So in some cases, I see where it works. Some cases, I don't. One other instance just came to me from something very recent. I just saw Def Leppard twice in Vegas, right? Def Leppard, big catalog, lot of hits. Def Leppard played 2 covers during their Vegas residency. They played the Depeche Mode song, Personal Jesus, and they played the David Essex song, Rock On. That is, in my humble opinion, 2 cases where those songs should not have been played. Because Def Leppard has 2 back-to-back diamond albums. And yes, I understand they recorded those songs, but neither of their versions were big hits. So when I went to that show recently, as much as I enjoyed it, as I'm hearing them play a Depeche Mode song and a David Essex song, I'm saying, holy shit, I could be hearing another hit and run right now. Oh, I could be hearing Rock Rock Till I Drop right now. I could be hearing Coming Under Fire right now. I could be hearing Stage Fright right now. I could be hearing Wasted right now, or Hello America right now. I mean, I would have taken anything from Def Leppard's actual catalog of their own songs over those two songs because they've got a deep catalog. So there's the examples of where I think it works and where it doesn't work or makes sense. Here's Andrew in Philadelphia. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Eddie. How's it going?
Hey, man.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with you. I'm generally not a fan of covers, and I'll even use Springsteen as an example because the one time I've seen him in Hershey Park Stadium, he did a cover of Gloria towards the end of the show. Now, the one saving grace with Bruce is at least you're getting a 3 to 4 hour show, so I can kind of give him a pass. But even as a big Bruce fan, you know, I don't want to hear. I'd rather hear a Darkness on the Edge of Town deep cut or something. But
exactly.
But the only time I think it's acceptable, like you said, bands with very limited catalog or like one album, they got to fill in space. Or like one time I saw Stryper do a Firehouse cover because CJ Snare just passed. So if it's something where they're tributing right after off, then that's like, oh yeah, that's cool that they did that. But other than that, you know, even if Bruce is playing 4 hours, I want 4 hours of Bruce.
Right. Yeah, because he's got a catalog, and if you're a fan, you want to hear those songs. That's a great point. He has some of those epic-y long songs, too, that you'd want to hear as well. So, that, Andrew, that exactly was where I was going and kind of how I was feeling, too. That was kind of the catalyst of why, you know, I said what I said last week.
Yeah, so, he gets kind of a pass because you're going to get a 3 to 4 hour show, but still, I'd rather hear something else.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. And yes, I understand, like I said, okay, speaking of when they do it because an artist died, back to Guns N' Roses, they were doing Black Hole Sun after Chris Cornell died for a few years. They're not doing it anymore, but they were. Obviously, that was a nod to him. But again, the irony about my post and what it touched off, the debate it touched off, again, with Duff and Dee chiming in and responding to it, is that in both of those cases, those are both bands that I'm fine with doing covers. Like, I think it makes sense for Guns N' Roses to do some covers because, again, they got 2 albums that everyone goes to see them because of. Twisted has 1. So, yeah, it makes sense for Dee to go out and do an AC/DC song or whatever. Keep everyone engaged if you're not hardcore and you're not there because you want to hear, I mean, if you know everything on all the records, then you might be wishing they did that. But in their case, you know, you're going for Stay Hungry. And yeah, I'd love to hear them do an AC/DC tune. It's not about whether they can do it well or anything. It really is directly connected to depth of catalog, which was my point. And the other thing with what Guns does, which I think is cool, is like Duff does it as a solo segment. I mean, you don't want to see Duff or anyone for that matter do a bass solo if you're going to have a spotlight moment. So him going up on the mic and singing an old punk tune or something, cool. Because again, based off depth of catalog. Here is Paul in New Jersey. Hey, Paul.
Oh, hey, Eddie.
Paul, you there? Hey, man, you're on the air.
Oh, hey, Eddie. Sorry about that.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, I agree with the other callers. If it's a memorial or, last summer if I saw a hard rock band, I would almost hope they do an Ozzy or a Sabbath cover. If I was to see Youngblood coming up, I would hope to hear him do Changes because he killed it at that show. And but for the most part, I'm not in favor of covers. Play your songs. Last night I went to see Collective Soul in Morristown, which was phenomenal, by the way. I don't know every song they did. I probably know half of them, most of the radio hits. And it was great. And I didn't want to cover because I wanted to hear Collective Soul songs I knew and songs I didn't know. So they were an example of I was happy to hear their songs. I don't need filler covers just because I don't know every song.
Collective Soul played in Morristown last night? Where, at the
Yeah, the
Mayo?
Community Theater, the Impact.
Ah, well, I had no idea. I mean, not that I could have gone. I got way too much going on, getting ready to leave. But I didn't realize that. All right. We'll see those guys coming up soon. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty full. I'd say a full house, and great show. Ed's, he's goofy. He's really fun on stage. The guitarist, the lead guitarist, plays some really great riffs and great leads. Again, not a huge fan. I know Shine and 5 other songs, but of the 15 songs they played, I knew half, and really liked the other songs as well. So I'm glad they didn't play covers, just as a recent example.
Well, yeah, and that's thank you, Paul, for the call. That's the other angle to it, right? So in Paul's case with that Collective Soul show, he knows the hits, but he was glad that they played the songs he didn't know, because that's the other thing. Maybe you walk out of there saying, hey, that one song was really catchy. I'm going to go find that record, or I'm going to go listen to that. So there's another angle to look at it, right? You never saw the Collective Soul documentary that came out a year or two ago? It's good. We had Ed Roland on talking about it. And I've gotten, it's weird, for as long as those guys have been around, I realized I interviewed them back on TV back in like the early 2000s. And then, but I've only got to kind of know them recently because we did the Styx thing together, and we were just somewhere else together that they were on. And I believe they're on Summer of '99 too. So I'm starting to see those guys out and about a little bit. Good guys. The doc is good if you get a chance to see it. I'm not sure where it's streaming now. Here's Derek in Massachusetts. Hi, Derek.
Hey, Ed. How are you?
Good.
Good. Hey, so I'm going to take a little bit different approach. Look, covering songs to me it's a time-honored tradition in rock, and it really started in the 1960s British Invasion when those artists started covering R&B and blues and some folk stuff. And I'm not a lover of cover songs live, but some bands are so good and play them so rarely that when they do, it's often much better than the original. And, what comes to mind for me as a lover of Van Halen, when they were with Dave, besides the album covers, during 1977 to 84, they rarely did a non-album cover live. And so when they went to Brazil on the Hide Your Sheep tour in 83 and did covers of Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers by ZZ Top, and they did Summertime Blues by The Who, and they even did the Beatles, You Can't Do That. That was actually in a sound check. They were phenomenal. And having Eddie's unique guitar and Dave's harmonizing, to me, made them better than the originals. And so now, today, those are the most frequent Van Halen songs that I listen to, because I've heard every other song 1,000 times, but I didn't hear those as much.
Well, Derek, how do you listen to them? You have like
I go YouTube
recordings?
I put them on YouTube, and then I download them onto my iPhone. And they're amazing because there are.
But my question, Derek, here's my question to you, and here's the point that I'm trying to get to the bottom of with people. So hypothetically, right? If you go back in a time machine right now, and you could go back to 1983 and see Van Halen, and you went to that show, and they played ZZ Top and these songs that you like and that you're listening to, you're a guy in the audience at that show. Are you happy that they're doing that, or would you rather them play? Because if they're so we're going to do Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, but guess what? We were going to do In a Simple Rhyme, or we were going to do Fools, but we're not, because we're going to do this cover. That's where I have the problem.
It's a fair point, and I think if they're going to play a deep track instead of that, then I would agree with you. If they're going to play something that is, commercial, I'd rather go for the unique sound. Now, at the same time, I think that's unique because it's Van Halen. I don't want to hear Ted Nugent do a cover of Aerosmith, because to me, there's nothing unique tonally or vocally that he would do.
Yeah, no, I get it. Derek, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Thank you for the call. Appreciate you chiming in. Just going to try to move people so we can get as many in as different views here and takes, whatever. But yeah, but see, there's the thing. Like, so I understand Derek's point, right? Like Van Halen, the minute Eddie Van Halen played something, it was unique immediately because he was such a groundbreaking, unique talent. I mean, even if you listen to, even though it's not a cover, his solo to Beat It, Michael Jackson just stands right out because it's him. So I understand that take that Derek has, but you see the difference when, like Derek was looking at it in retrospect, looking back now. But if I could put you all back in 1983 right now, and I'm sure all of you would sign up for that if I could make that happen. You're going to a Van Halen show. And look, a band is only going to play a certain amount of time, 90 minutes, whatever it is. There's only a certain amount of songs you're going to squeeze in your set time. Would you rather hear Van Halen playing ZZ Top? Or would you rather hear Van Halen playing DOA? Or On Fire? Or I'm the One? Or Fools? I know where I'm going every time. I'm going to the Van Halen songs. That's my point in all of this. Frank in San Diego. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Eddie, I saw Bruce last night. Amazing set in LA. He introduced a new cover, which was The Clash, their song Clamp Down. And when he started playing it and I started realizing what it was, I could not have been happier. It was amazing. They did an amazing version of it. And they do that one. They do Temptations War. They do Patti Smith. They do Bob Dylan. I don't mind it. He played 3 hours, 25 songs. I mean, I got in for $130, $5 a song by a legend. It was amazing. I loved it. And I've seen Guns N' Roses do it and Pearl Jam and all these other bands. When they mix it into a 2-3 hour show, I'm okay with it. But, I respect your opinion. And it's definitely a good argument when there's other bands that are smaller that you want to hear their hits and they don't even come close to it and just fill it in with covers. But I don't see that a lot.
Hey, Frank, so Bruce is still doing like 3 hour shows?
Yeah, started at 7:30, ended at 10:30. Didn't even take an intermission. Man, like he's 76 years old and he's got so much energy and he uses a teleprompter and whatever, but there's 17 people on stage. The place was packed. Going back to the standing versus sitting conversation, people you go with the flow, and everybody did it. And it was amazing. By the way, 3 hour show. If you go on the resale apps, like halfway into the show, tickets are $10. You can see half the show for, I swear to God, it was $7.
Oh, you mean after the show started?
The show. Yeah, but you still see like an hour. You still see 10 songs for $7, So anyway, for people who want
that's a great point. Yeah, where was the show? Was it at the Forum?
It was at the Kia Forum, and they play again tomorrow night. And I would definitely recommend it. Dude's 76 years old, man. For 76, he sounded amazing, absolutely amazing.
And Morello's still playing with him?
Morello, yeah, he was amazing. Yeah, he played yesterday was the anniversary. Morello played with him yesterday for the first time in 2008. Yesterday, and Morello sang with him. And
but let me ask you one other thing, Frank. Yeah. One other thing to the point of what we're talking about today. So let me ask you. So I have no idea what his set list was, but if you're a big, so did he play, for instance, Rosalita last night?
You know what? I would have loved to hear it. And you said it earlier. Like, do I want to hear Rosalita or do I want to hear Clamp Down? Damn, I've seen him sing Rosalita and I love it, but I was okay. I was okay with him singing.
Did he do Jungle Land? Frank, did he do Jungle Land last night?
Jesus Christ, it was a long night. I have it right here in front of me. He didn't do Jungle Land.
Those are two massively huge, epic Springsteen songs. That's the point. Yeah. So you rattled off 4 or 5 covers he did. He could have done one or both of them.
I know, but he did Dancing in the Dark. He did 10th Avenue. He did Badlands. He did he opened up with freaking More Than Born in the USA, it's just a lot of great stuff. Out in the Street, Hungry Heart, he played so many hits.
All right, Frank, I got to go. Thank you. So look, but do you see what happens when you make that counter argument? This is my point. Did you see? Frank's he did this, he did that. First of all, when he said he did Patti Smith, I'm assuming he did Because the Night, but he wrote that song. So that makes sense, But do you see what happens with whether it was the Van Halen one or the Springsteen one? When you turn it the other way and you're like, okay, great, that's cool that they did that. But would you like to have heard Rosalita? Oh yeah. That is my point, everybody. So, you put some context in it, it kind of changes people's take a little bit, doesn't it? And again, this is what I'm saying. This is a very, nuanced conversation. There's a lot of variables here. It's not cut and dry. It could be very case by case, as I say all the time. But in almost every case, at the end of the day, if it's an artist I love, I want to hear them play their songs over a cover. That's all. Not talking about ones they had success doing or whatever. Like, for instance, going back to Prince, back in the day, if Prince came out and did Nothing Compares to You or Manic Monday, to the uneducated, they might be like, oh, what the hell's Prince doing covering the Bangles? What is Prince doing covering Sinead O'Connor? Well, he wrote those songs. They're his songs. I don't have a problem with that. But, if he came out and did an Alice Cooper song or something, immediately you might be like, wow, that's crazy. That's cool. Alice Cooper's being played by Prince. Okay, great. In a moment in that thing, if it's the only time he ever did it, if it's the one show he ever did it, you could say you were there, you saw him do it. Okay, great. But I don't know, at the end of the day, if you're a big Prince fan, would you rather hear that or I Would Die for You or something? I don't know. I think most would say, oh, I'd rather hear the song, his actual song from him. So there's all these different little connectivities to this that you have to kind of cut through. And again, it's still, at the end of the day, it comes down to opinion, but just interesting when you frame it, right? So anyway, we're discussing cover tunes today here on Trunk Nation, as you probably figured out if you joined us late. One other thing, though, on his, forget the last caller's name, Frank, I think it was. That's a great thing that he just brought up. Because the other thing I've been telling you guys about for years is the cost of tickets and just waiting it out, and it's going to drop, right? His point, when you look at somebody like Springsteen, who plays for 3 hours still, is that if you wait it out so much to the point that you don't go in until an hour into the show, you get in for $10. Now you're missing maybe half the show, but if the guy's playing a 3-hour set, you're still getting 90 minutes. You're still getting what for most people is a normal length concert. Guns was doing 3. They're down to about 2.5 right now, but still, if you went into a Guns N' Roses show half an hour late, you're still getting a 2-hour show, and you might get in for $5 on the secondary market. Because the show started, they're going to eat the ticket, whoever's selling it. That's a whole nother conversation, but that's a whole nother way to work that system. When I posted what we were doing on this show today on the Facebook page, I saw something flash up about the cost of tickets for Metallica in Connecticut at the arena show at Mohegan Sun. It's $2,000-$3,000, something insane. They're like, who would pay this? Well, you know what? If somebody doesn't pay it, same deal. You get close to that show date, you're going to get in super cheap or cheaper. Now, Metallica, that's not going to drop that much, but it might drop from $3,000 to $500, which is still a crazy amount of money to me, but people routinely spend it on concerts these days. We've talked about that too. So it's all just comes down to supply, demand, and how many people are vying for the ticket. But the idea of waiting until it's actually started, as he said, that's actually really smart. If you're willing to know that I'm going to miss 4 or 5 songs. When I saw Guns N' Roses Saturday in Brazil, the opening song was Welcome to the Jungle, and then they went into the Velvet Revolver tune Slither. So if you said to yourself, well, you know what, I've heard Welcome to the Jungle a billion times, I can do without hearing that. I can do without hearing them do Velvet Revolver again. And I'm okay coming in on the 3rd or 4th song, and you're outside, you might just by sacrificing those 2-3 songs, in that instance, you might have been able to get in dirt cheap and still gotten a 2-hour concert. All these different ways to work it if you're on a budget. Or you just don't want to spend that kind of money. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back. We'll continue breaking this down and seeing your thoughts on covers and concerts and all that good stuff.
His cell phone, whoever found it, would have every number for every rock star on the planet.
Hey, remember me? We went to school together.
Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk, Sirius XM.
Are tickets on sale for this thing?
Faction Talk.
Conan O'Brien here. On Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, I was joined by Arsenio Hall. We had an amazing conversation about the wild energy behind the scenes at the Arsenio Hall show, the pain of network notes, and how losing his magic act forced him into a comedy career. I had never had a chance to sit down with Arsenio, and this was a dream come true.
Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend with Arsenio Hall. Now available on the SiriusXM app. Just search Conan.
Ready for big fun? Start for free at Chumba Casino. Sign up and enjoy a welcome bonus with gold coins and sweeps coins to explore hundreds of online social casino games, all from your phone. Spin, play, and discover something new whenever you feel like it, with no downloads needed. More games, more ways to play. Let's Chumba. Only available in permitted states. No purchase necessary. See terms and conditions for details. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21+.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are you a small business owner struggling with cash flow issues? Look no further than AmeriFactors, a trusted partner in business funding. With AmeriFactors, you can turn your unpaid invoices into fast cash. Say goodbye to long payment cycles and hello to quick and easy funding options, even with less than perfect credit, including bankruptcies. If you need working capital to make payroll, buy inventory, or to expand your business, AmeriFactors has got you covered.
Working with AmeriFactors was the best decision. Our business is thriving and growing. Without AmeriFactors, we never would have been able to get to this point.
With AmeriFactors, you can focus on what you do best, running your business, while they take care of providing cash flow and accounts receivable management. Their team of experts are dedicated to providing personalized solutions focused on the success of your business. Fuel your business growth with AmeriFactors. Call AmeriFactors today, 800-884-FUND. That's 800-884-3863. Or visit AmeriFactors.com.
Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road, and they're responsible for so much: acceleration, braking, steering, and handling. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it easy. You'll get fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, and convenient installation options. Try mobile installation. They'll bring your new tires to your home or office and install them on site. Tire Rack has the best selection of tires from world-class brands, and they don't just sell tires, they test them on the road and on their test track. Learn how the tires you want tackle evasive maneuvers, drive and stop in the rain, or just handle your everyday commute. Go to TireRack.com to see their tire test results, tire ratings, and consumer reviews, and be sure to check out all the current special offers. That's TireRack.com. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Sirius XM Faction Talk.
Here to get my Trunk Nation medication, baby.
Trunk Nation.
Let's give the people what they need.
Eddie Trunk.
We were talking a little bit about Journey earlier. They were scheduled to play in Des Moines tonight, but that is now going to be postponed due to illness. So if you happen to be listening in Des Moines or in that area, and you were going to see Journey tonight, they are not playing. It is postponed. Check your local listings as to what they're going to do, either reschedule or refund. I'm assuming postpone means they're going to make it up, so it's one of those hold your ticket deals. Back to the phones, talking about cover tunes. Let's go to our buddy in Staten Island. Here's Jim joining us. What's up, Jim? How are you?
Hey, Ed, I'm good, thanks. Quick shout out to the Facebook group, our Trunk Nation Facebook group, as always. Before we get to the topic, can I give you one quick concert review?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
So Robert Plant at the Count Basie on Monday. Fantastic.
You know, I was just when I was in Brazil on Sunday, I had breakfast with Gary Sharon and Pat Badger from Extreme. And as we were leaving, Gary mentioned to me that he went to see Robert Plant. And he said the same thing. He said that, and I was surprised. Gary told me he does do a few Zeppelin songs, right?
He did 4. Yeah. He did Ramble On, the Rain Song, which was a nice treat. He did Friends from Zeppelin 3, and one of the encores was Going to California, which he hasn't done in a long time. And it just sounded amazing, unbelievable. And he did something really cool. Right down the street from the Count Basie is Jack's Music, a record store. And he signed a stack of his latest album and gave them to Jack. So, like, if you're in Red Bank, you can go grab a Robert Plant's new album signed for like $28. I thought that was cool.
Oh, wow, that is cool. That's, yeah. And when he does the Zeppelin stuff, he does it kind of in a more scaled back way, right? It's not like big, loud riff Zeppelin stuff, right? Although those songs are pretty sedate anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely acoustic based, but
yeah,
it's just like when he does something like the Rain Song, you could hear a pin drop in there, and it's just his voice just fills the room. It's insane. It was great. Anyway.
And wait, one other thing, Jim, because I'm curious about this too. Does he do a lot from his solo career? Like, does he do stuff from the records right after Zeppelin?
He did, other than his most recent album, he does version of In the Mood from Principal Moments, and he did Calling to You from Fate of Nations.
Okay.
That was really good. He does a Neil Young song, but yeah, I can't say more about how great it was.
Very cool.
On the real quick on the topic, I agree with you 1,000%. I have zero interest in hearing a cover song at a live show. On record, in studio, great. But like, if I go see Tesla, I would love for Tesla to not do Signs and maybe do Lazy Days, Crazy Nights, or Into the Now. That's where I stand.
Well, the difference there, Jim, with that example, as you know, is that Tesla had a huge hit with Signs. And there's a lot of people that go to see Tesla that don't have any idea that song's even a cover.
Right.
So that's a whole different kind of argument there. Now, there were times, so Tesla did a record called Reel to Reel, which was all covers. Great. Yeah, but for a time they were doing songs from that, which again is like, okay, so if they announce here would be the difference. And thanks, Jim, as always, and thanks to the Facebook group as always. Here's the thing though. Jim brings up another interesting thing here. So Tesla did this all covers record. It's like a double record. It's like 30 cover tunes, right? They did UFO, they did Montrose, they did everything. If they go out on tour and tell people at that time, we're going out on the Reel to Reel tour and only playing these covers, then you know what you're getting, right? But if they were going to go, if they went out on a regular tour and they left 3 or 4 of their own songs off of the set list because they were going to instead play Montrose and UFO, as much as I love those bands, no. I want to hear, give me something from, Bust a Nut. Give me Shine Away. Give me a Tesla song. It's different. Now, his example about Signs, though, here's what's really interesting, bringing up Tesla as an example. 2 of Tesla's biggest, best-known songs in their set, in their catalog, are covers that nobody knows unless you're hardcore are covers. Signs is a cover, but absolutely, it's best known now as a Tesla song, and it was a hit. The other Tesla song that's a cover that most people have no idea is a cover is Little Susie, which is maybe my least favorite Tesla song. I always tell those guys every time, like, I wish you guys didn't do that song. They're like, it's a big song. We got to do it. They didn't even want to do it when they recorded it. It was pushed on them by the record label. It's not their song. But nobody knows the original version of that song. So everybody just thinks it's a Tesla song. So that's different. Like, that's not like Tesla coming out and playing Rock Candy by Montrose, which most people know is a Montrose song. That is a case where those were covers done by other artists that the original versions are obscure and they're best known now as Tesla songs. To me, that doesn't really count as doing a cover. It's totally different. Like, you could even say with Metallica doing Am I Evil, most people know that as a Metallica song. They don't know that it's Diamond Head. Even Whiskey in the Jar has become better known as a Metallica song than anything else, even though Thin Lizzy had a big hit with it in England. So that's what I'm saying. There's so many different angles to this when you really look at it as to what is a cover and what isn't. Ace Frehley, New York Groove. It's a cover. Nobody knows the original version of that song at all. So when you go to see Ace, you can't be like, oh, oh my God, he's doing that cover again. No, that became his song, even though he didn't write it. Here's Michael in Arizona. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Ed?
Hey, man. All good.
Good. So I look at it this way. When a lot of times bands on their debut album have a cover song. For instance, Van Halen with You Really Got Me. Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll was a cover.
Well, that's one. That's one where a lot of people don't realize and know that that's a cover. There's that would fall into my example of like Signs and Little Susie and all that. But Your point about Joan Jett, Michael, you go see Joan Jett, like 5 or 6 of her biggest songs in her set are cover tunes, whether people know it or not.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Crimson and Clover. Yeah, tons.
So that's totally fine, but that's the difference between like Gene Simmons playing a Motorhead cover that has no context or anything in his catalog. So that's the difference. It's like sometimes these debut albums will have a cover song, like, again, You Really Got Me by Van Halen. Well, everybody's going to want to hear that, but just like a random Van Halen playing, I don't know, a 38 Special song. I'm not here to see like celebrity karaoke or a cover band. I'm not going to pay for that. So that's where the difference is. If there's some context to a cover song, I can agree with that, and everybody's going to expect to hear that. But as far as like the just random covers, it's like that's lazy, in my opinion.
You're right. I agree with what you're saying, Michael, for the most part. You're right. It comes down to the context a little bit because yes, and thanks, Michael, because in the case of Joan Jett, there's a lot of songs in her set that are covers, whether they're well-known covers or a song like I Love Rock and Roll, which people do not know is a cover. I'm sure there are people listening to this right now like, really? I Love Rock and Roll is a cover? Yeah. It's originally done by a band called The Arrows. I'll give you another really deep one that people have no idea is actually has its origins in a cover. King of the Nighttime World by Kiss on Destroyer was recorded just before by a group called Hollywood Stars in a slightly different version. And they actually just re-released their version of it, trying to play off of the fact that, it's a well-known Kiss song, which is now 50 years old. Kevin in Texas. Hey, Kev.
Hey, you took my Metallica. I was going to say I would much rather hear Am I Evil than anything from the Black Album forward. Unless you're talking about Turn the Page, which was really well done by then. But there's other, like, and this is a little bit out of our realm of what we normally listen to as far as the people on the channel or on the Facebook, but Fountains of Wayne did Stacy's Mom, and Bowling for Soup does a much better version of that. So I think a lot of it just depends on who it is, and that Joan Jett cover of I Love Rock and Roll, that was originally tried to give to the Runaways, and they declined on it. And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she took it and ran with it after, because if you remember, after the Runaways broke up, that was pretty much one of her first hits after they broke up. I mean, I think she had Crimson and Clover, might have been a little bit before, but it was right there around the same time, I think. But anyway, yeah, that's all I got. And yeah, Am I Evil? That's just a song that Metallica pretty much made their own. I mean, but Diamond Head, I guess, wasn't really, really well known.
No. Diamond Head were part of the early new wave of British heavy metal in England, and they, Metallica loved all that stuff. And look, Metallica, we've talked about it before, and thank you, Kevin. Metallica has done wonders for some of these obscure artists by covering their songs. If you remember, the first time Metallica put out that an EP of all covers, it was called like the 598 EP Garage Days Revisited, or Garage Days. They called it the 598 EP because that's what it was selling for when it first came out, $5.98. It was a 5-6 song EP. And it was all covers of the obscure British metal acts. And then Metallica goes on to become this enormous band, obviously, that they still are. And some of those songs, like Am I Evil, Crash Course in Brain Surgery, which is Budgie, even Whiskey in a Jar. I mean, Whiskey in a Jar was a hit for Thin Lizzy in England, but not anywhere else. The people who wrote those songs, the original artists, made huge money because Metallica covered them, because so many people bought Metallica's version, and those are the versions that now get played. Brian Tatler, who is the guitar player in the band Diamond Head, who co-wrote or wrote Am I Evil? I saw an interview with him a few years ago. He was like, yeah, he goes, Metallica doing that song put my kids through college. Those guys don't have any money. They never made any money. They never made it big. And then you got Metallica. I mean, they can make somebody instantly hundreds of thousands of dollars by just saying, I'm going to throw, we like that song, we're going to put it on our record. Boom. Even if it doesn't become a hit, if it's attached to a record, you're going to get paid on it if you're the writer. So they've done amazing with that. The thing with Whiskey in a Jar that's interesting is most people looked at that as Metallica doing a Thin Lizzy song. But in reality, that song was not written by Thin Lizzy either. That's actually a cover for Thin Lizzy. That song was actually, I don't know what the origins are as a writing credit, but it's always credited as a traditional Irish something. Like it's almost like a public domain thing or something. It's like an Irish anthem. There's got to be a writer on it. But it's always, if you look at the credit, it always says something like traditional Irish something. Joel, look that up for me. Whiskey in the Jar, what the origin of the writing is. Sure, you were probably doing that already, but I'm curious. It's kind of like the birthday.
I'm getting what you were just saying. It's,
right.
An Irish traditional song set in the southern mountains of Ireland, often with specific mention of countries Cork and Kerry. I'm just reading straight off the Wikipedia page for this song.
Right. It doesn't list a writer, right?
Yeah, no, it's just general Irish folk music. Let's see, songwriter, traditional, the Dubliners maybe. Producer Tommy Scott. This is based on Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but they're usually pretty good on stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's weird. I've thought about that. Only a lunatic like me, these are the things I think about. But for years I've thought about that because before Metallica did it, I knew it as a Thin Lizzy song because I like Thin Lizzy. And I was like, oh, and I looked at it, I'm like, well, wait, that's actually a cover for Thin Lizzy. And then nobody knew it in America until Metallica did it. But it's one of those things where there's really no writer attached to it. It's like, it always just lists as like traditional Irish folk music. Well, okay, but somebody had to write it. Bunch of people in Ireland just got drunk one day and came up with that song and they don't know who it was. I'd love to have that publishing. So yeah, I don't know how that works. That's an odd one. But you'd be surprised at some of those, like, I've told this story before, Happy Birthday to You. The song everybody sings on, you hear it every day in a restaurant or something, somebody's birthday, happy birthday to you. There's a writer on that. For the longest time, if you did that song in any way on a TV show or whatever, you would have to pay. There was a publishing company attached to it. Until recently, and I heard it became what's known as public domain, meaning that it's so omnipresent that it's just whatever, anybody can do it. They don't have to pay. But I'll never forget, we had Zakk Wylde on That Metal Show back in the day. And we had him on probably twice. And one of the times he shot the episode with us, it was on his birthday. And we were going to bring a cake out and sing happy birthday to him on the set. And they killed it. We couldn't do it because, again, we didn't have the money to pay for music publishing on the old TV show. That's why the guitar players would always just play in the stands and have to play little licks and solos and couldn't play even a riff to a song because we'd get hit with a bill for the publishing and we couldn't afford it. And I remember what we ended up doing for Zakk's birthday. If you remember that episode, we had a mariachi band come out and play the song and sing it in Spanish to him. And the reason why we did that is because it was cheaper to clear the song in that version than it would have been to actually do it in the traditional American version with English lyrics. I mean, you guys, it's so complex, this stuff. It's crazy. I'm dealing with it right now on some fronts. Here's John in Illinois. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Eddie. Got to first say that it's always an education listening to your show, and you are extremely entertaining. I love listening to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't have a problem with bands that have an extensive catalog playing a cover tune. And I'll explain why, because when I saw the Facebook post, it kind of made me think a little bit. It kind of takes me back as a fan to the band celebrating their roots, where they came from, artists that influenced them, and they're just kind of sharing that along with the crowd. And it just kind of takes me on a little trip as to where they came from and how they got to where they are. That's my perspective.
Okay, so John, let me just give you a hypothetical then. So give me, like, what is one or two of your favorite bands, John?
Well, some of your guests were already talking about like Van Halen. You could even go to.
Stop right there. Stop right there with Van Halen. Okay, so let me just give you a hypothetical. You go see Van Halen, and they play Baba O'Reilly by The Who, which is like an 8-minute song. And they're doing that because they love The Who and they love Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey and all that, right? Okay, great. Yep. You just had 8 minutes of that 90-minute set taken up by them doing a Who song. You're okay with that when you might have been able to get 2 or 3. You might have been able to get Somebody Get Me a Doctor, DOA, and Ice Cream Man in there. Those had to be left out because they did The Who. But you're okay with that?
I would be. And, you know, I was going to use an example, but then I kind of went away from it because I thought I'd get blasted for it. But when Sammy joined the band, Sammy and Eddie were at Farm Aid. And so they didn't have a catalog yet. They hadn't written any songs together. At least they didn't have anything they could play live. But they played cover tunes, and Sammy explained, hey, these are songs we came up with, growing up with, and that we like, and we wanted to share it with you. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's kind of cool.
In that
kind of
context,
like history class with the band.
Yes, in that context, totally, John. That I would agree with you, and that's a good example where it made sense because there was no history. That was the unveiling of Sammy as the new singer. Thank you, John. Thank you for the kind words as well. That I get. I'm okay there. But where I disagree with John is if, I'm the hypothetical I gave him. I don't want to hear Bob O'Reilly, a 10-minute jam of Bob O'Reilly. You know how many Van Halen songs you could get in 10 minutes? Most of their songs are 3 minutes long. Get at least 3 more songs. That's why I used to go crazy at the end of the Roth period where he would go out there and swing a sword around for 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, I could be hearing On Fire right now. Thank you. Just me. You may feel differently, but that's how I felt. Danny in Chicago. Go ahead, Danny.
Hey, Eddie, first-time caller, man, long-time listener. So I'm going to try to clean this up. Let's say if Prince was alive, but he's not, so let's say anybody from Dolly Parton to Metallica was in Jersey performing, and they sang Born in the USA, they would go crazy for that, right? Well, they were in Minneapolis. That's where Prince is from. So
right, no, I understand that. But to that, and yes, I understand that was the catalyst there for that moment that we're talking about. But as a caller just said a little while ago, Danny, Prince played a Clash song the other night in L.A. There's no connection to L.A. and the Clash. They're a British band.
Right, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I'm just trying to clean up for what happened with Bruce.
Oh no, I know that. I understand the connection. I understand the connection there.
Yeah, I just stayed in Minneapolis for a weekend in Lofton. And if you look out the motel window up high to your right, Prince is on the building there. If you look down the street, Prince is on the building there. So I think Bruce that's what that was for that instance. All the way around, though, I agree with what you're saying. If I'm paying to go see somebody, I want to hear that somebody. Yeah.
Right. All right, Danny, thank you. Thanks for weighing in. That's the thing, though. With Bruce, again, a couple different outliers here because he does play very long. But as somebody said, the previous caller in this show, you went to see Bruce last night, and Bruce left 2-3 huge songs in his catalog out, but played a Clash song. Now, look, the other thing, and I don't do this, I don't get into this on the air, and I spare you from the politics, but if you know anything about Bruce's current tour, it is extremely political. He is the first to tell you that. For better or worse, depending upon where you land, it's extremely political. So there could also be, I don't think the Prince song had anything to do with politics, but some of the other covers he may or may not do in this run could absolutely be very politically driven. And there could be messaging in the songs, which is why he's doing them. But again, for me, we're coming up with all these different scenarios. At the end of the day, almost in all cases, I can say, if I love the artist, I want to hear them do their song. Or if it's become their song. One example that just hit me on that too, because we just talked about Signs with Tesla. The original band was 5-man acoustical jam, but it's known as a Tesla song. You don't even think of that as being a cover. It's one of their biggest songs in their whole catalog. To a lesser degree, I love Soul Asylum. There's a song called Summer of Drugs, which they do a great version of and recorded. That's another big part. Recorded. I love their version of the song. So if I go to see Soul Asylum, as much as I think Perner is a songwriting genius and I want to hear Soul Asylum songs that he wrote, I'm okay in that instance if they do Summer of Drugs. Because they recorded it and did a great version of it. And nobody knows, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but most people don't even realize it's a Lucinda Williams song. It was actually recorded by Soul Asylum on a Lucinda Williams tribute album. Soul Asylum also did a version of the Marvin Gaye song Sexual Healing. But they don't do that nearly as often. So, again, there's all these different angles to this. There's covers you don't even know are covers and become hits for the artist, and that is a different thing, I think. Here is Kevin in California. Go ahead, Kev.
Eddie, this reminds me of, I think it was like 2004, Rush did a cover of Summertime Blues. And it was recorded, got some radio play. But seeing them live that year, I was highly disappointed when they ended their show with that song.
I remember that. They did an EP, I think it was called Feedback, and it was all covers of stuff that they grew up with. I do remember that period.
Yeah, I was disappointed that a band like that ended their show with that song. What's your opinion on that one?
Well, let me ask you this, Kevin. Was that the last tour they did? Was that R40 when they played everything in reverse? Or they went chronologically and they ended like on a high school stage? The last tour they had that chronological thing?
I can't answer that question, Eddie. It was their 40th, but I don't remember that details. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you remember with that, there was a theme to that where they started out like or ended with being like in a high school gym. It was like a chronological thing to the staging. And the point of them doing that at that point was to, they started being, the reason why they played is because they loved The Who. So it was like a Who thing. Like it was but I agree with you, Kevin. I mean, my point is there was kind of like a theme to that tour because I saw it. But even so, would I rather hear, if you're going to do something early, would I rather hear, I don't know, By Tour and the Snow Dog or Finding My Way? Or would I rather hear Rush do The Who? The answer is going to be always wanting to hear Rush do Rush. So I agree with you in that way.
Yeah, you got a good memory, man. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, but there was a theme. If it's the tour that I think he's talking about, there was a theme to it. Where like at the end, they were like, had a recreation of like a high school gym that they were playing on. I mean, there's so many different examples to this, right? Like Motley Crue doing Helter Skelter. They recorded it on Shout at the Devil. So you don't mind so much when they do that because it was a decent sized song on a really big popular album. Motley Crue also covered Like a Virgin. You don't hear them doing that one live. That wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? They covered Street Fighting Man by the Stones. You don't hear them do that live. So if you cover something, it becomes big, it kind of has to be in the set. Here is Dave in New York. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good, Dave.
Well, one thing I have to comment on is, let's be honest. The reason that the Van Hagar era was doing all those covers is because they don't want to do rough songs because they wanted to pretend like he was never in the band. It's like the worst. That's exactly why they're doing them. They love The Who. I don't doubt that, but they don't want to play rough songs. And you already did all 51. It was to fill
right. It was to fill time for sure. That's also why they did I Can't Drive 55 and There's Only One Way to Rock.
Yeah. So I'll say this. The reason that maybe some of these bigger bands like Springsteen will pull out like a weird cover and it's like, why are they doing this? It's because in the case of Bruce, and maybe this might even go more for even jam bands who play even longer than Bruce, they pride themselves like, we're this great rock and roll band, so we can do anything, including someone else's song. And it's like, maybe it's like, we're going to do a cover song, but it's going to make sense in the context of what else we're doing. So I'm thinking maybe that's the attitude. Like, for example, Guns N' Roses has been doing a Sabbath song in the set ever since back to the beginning. I think even before Ozzy
Junior's
died.
Eyes. They did it Saturday,
Yeah,
Junior's Eyes, yep.
It's almost like they put that song out as a single and they were just touring behind, even though they didn't do that. It's like, oh, we did this at this big event that was praised. We're just going to keep on doing the song from that. I have to say one thing. I always try to look at how many times a band does a cover, how many covers they do in one night, and I'll go to like setlist.com. But the one annoying thing about that site is if you do something that's technically a cover, it won't tell you what the album. It won't tell you what album. Someone will just say it's a cover. So if Van Halen does "You Really Got Me," it just says Kinks cover. It doesn't say it's from Van Halen 1. I mean, if you go to Paul McCartney's set list, technically he does 20 covers a night because he's technically covering the Beatles because he is not the Beatles. Even, I mean, you know what I mean.
That's crazy. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's silly.
The only thing is,
Dave, I got to run. I'm out of time. Sorry, man. It's silly to say McCartney doing a Beatles song is doing a cover, right? Technically, I guess if it's a Wings set, if it's a Paul McCartney show, it is technically. Come on, he wrote the song. It's funny. But yeah, it is interesting. That website, if you ever look at it, setlist.com, that shows you all the artist set lists, it will say the cover and it will tell you who they're covering. I find that interesting. They always single that out. And that's a good call, too, about Guns N' Roses still doing Junior's Eyes, which is a very obscure Sabbath song. Very obscure. But they did it back to the beginning. They've been doing it ever since. So that's interesting, too. Hey, listen, this is what I love. It's great. You know, different opinions, different views, different stories, different scenarios. Thank you all. I'm sorry if it didn't get to you today. We're back live tomorrow. We can do more of this the rest of the week if you didn't get through today. Also, Miles Kennedy on the show tomorrow live. We'll see you at 3 Eastern tomorrow. Take care.
You binge shows, you binge podcasts, you binge snacks at 2 a.m. So why not binge comedy? Introducing SiriusXM's Comedy in Full, the new channel where the laughs don't stop at 5-minute clips. We're talking full stand-up specials, back to back to back. No skipping, no short clips, just the entire show, the way comedy was meant to be heard. Ready to start